Alright, I'm waiting on some parts for this guy. I had to order 2 tires as well as 2 tubes. This tube's completely shot. That other tire on that side's starting to get pretty rotten. It's kind of one of those deals. It was cheaper to buy 2 tubes than it was to buy 1. So I got to change the front tires. The rears are okay. I don't see any rotting anywhere. As to whether or not the tubes are okay, I'll probably just get tire slime for them. Battery's completely junk. It was charged up running yesterday. Doesn't even try to turn over now. It just barely whines. And then I did order the piece. It's called a drag link that connects from there to the actual steering assembly. Thank God it wasn't missing like the steering box, or well, that's what they call it, the steering box, because that's like a $200 part, and that's just the piece that the gear from the steering shaft goes to. And I wouldn't imagine it'd be more than a $40 part, but I couldn't find it for less than $200. So enough with that one. We're going to start on the log splitter over there. That ready heater I mentioned a little bit earlier does work. It was just low on fuel. And then the only other thing I got at the auction that was really worth mentioning or potentially making a video on was this parts washer here, which I already got in. There really isn't any sort of repairs that this thing needs. I just got a couple little baggies here of things I need to get, like the O-ring for the filter. It just leaks, which you lose pressure. Isn't a huge deal, but I figured I'd try to find one of those since it's cracked right here pretty badly. And then the garden hose to actually spray the solvent was obviously completely destroyed from being however many years old. And this thing, this was a unopened 5-gallon thing of mineral spirits parts washer. It's still not enough for the pump to even pick it up, so I'm going to have to pick up another 10 or 15 gallons. So I think I was right in saying that it was a 20-gallon unit. So like I said, we're going to get the log splitter probably right up into this empty spot here and start picking away at that. It's probably going to be the same thing. Empty the fuel, change the oil. That one doesn't have spark, so I'll have to figure that out. And speaking of other problems, the truck here just left me almost stranded at the gas station, which was only a mile down the road. I shut it off, went to start it, and it was clicking, and I thought it was a bad battery connection, but I already took care of that, and the lights were still on and everything. So it was something starter related. I took the starter apart, cleaned that, made it absolutely perfect, and the brushes looked like new. One thing I didn't take apart was the solenoid, and I didn't think about that till I got it back in there. If you would click and hold the solenoid or turn the key, sometimes it would kind of engage. So it's a solenoid issue, and I'm probably not going to mess with it anymore today, since I'd rather be working on this thing. Alright, I'm going to have to speak up here because I noticed on the last video, as soon as I walked away from the camera, and kind of depending on the side, if I was standing on the left side, the audio didn't really equalize. If I was standing on the right, it didn't equalize. I don't have an audio pack. I tried a couple of them out. I think they're all garbage. I haven't had one that I've thought was even half worth of shit. Like I said, the only thing I've really done with this is verified that it doesn't have spark. I don't know if there is some sort of kill switch on here. I did not verify what year this is, but kind of based on the looks of it, it might be old enough to have points. And I mean, regardless, I'm going to take this thing off anyways, because I'm going to spin the thing over with the drill if I end up getting that cover off, just to kind of figure out and spin it over, you know, to verify that I have spark with the drill instead of pulling it over by hand. So I don't know why they put that there. They really couldn't have put a worse place for that. I mean, cut it off down to here, you know. See, that's why they put it there, to hold that. That was a obviously intended design. I'm just going to throw the hardware right in this little thing there. I don't know that this is old enough to have points. I mean, the thing is with small engines, it doesn't have to be that old to have points. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not bothering figuring out what year this is until I actually get it apart. That's probably 3/8. What do we guess for that? 5/16. Well, we lost one. Drop out the bottom. No. So I'll have to find that one. Air filter's nice and clean though. Oh, I see where that bolt fell. I'm going to try to dig that out here quick. Yes. Now, I probably didn't need to take that air filter off, but there's one there, one there. That's right, now that I'm wearing my jacket, I'm starting to put things back in its pocket. Just got cold enough out today to have to throw it on. Oh yeah. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Oh God. And you know what? I saw the mouse who lived in this when me and the helper, God, I don't want that shit to blow in my face. I'm gonna stand behind the camera. When me and the helper were, the auction helper that is, were going back to uncover this thing from the tarp, a mouse ran out and I thought it was just a leaf or something, and he was, you know, like less than a foot away from me, and he didn't give a shit about me. And he was kind of probably irritated, like, hey, what the hell, what are you doing with my house? And then loaded up on the trailer. So I'm gonna get the vacuum cleaner set up here and vacuum that stuff out. You know, it might just be corrosion, or it could be the coil's bad, because it looks like this is a coil instead of a point system. Like I said, I'm not super familiar with small engines other than how to clean points and how to replace a coil and how to clean a carb. And I guess essentially that's all there is to it, but I know the older stuff 99% of the time it's going to be coil, and that's about the extent of my knowledge. There's no way I'm going to be able to get this cover off without cutting this square tubing, so I'm going to do that quick here with the Sawzall and try not to damage the cover itself too much. They kind of put it in a really shit location. So clean you could eat off it, right? Let's see if this is... Yep, that's the right size. Okay. And the plug doesn't look too bad. I gotta put all my tools in one spot, otherwise I'm gonna go crazy running around trying to find them. Anyways, it does look like there's a kill switch going to the coil. So I'm guessing when you move the throttle control all the way over to one side, it grounds a wire out, which kills power to this. So it could be the mouse chewed through that, it's at permanent ground. It could be this is so dirty and cruddy and shitty that it's not making contact or making good connection, whatever you want to call it. So, and I think on coils there is a set air gap, kind of like, almost like setting the valves on an engine. It needs to be so many thousandths of an inch. I think I remember if you folded a piece of thin cardstock over, like the stuff that you get 12 packs, you know, if you fold that over 2 layers and put that in, that's supposedly enough of an air gap, but that might be too much, so maybe it was just 1 layer. Trying to think of what to do next here. I think I'm going to take some steel wool and kind of clean all this stuff up here wherever the actual magnet is, and maybe take the coil off and clean that too. And I'm going to check the wires and make sure that there's no grounding issue anywhere. Alright, I'm going to have to take this top cover off here. Get you a little bit better angle. Top cover off. So I can get access to see where this grounding wire goes to, because this faceplate needs to be re-riveted anyways. But without taking this cover off, I'm pretty much SOL. Yeah, I was right when you turn this thing to off. It ends up grounding on the back of the lever there. I'm almost confident that carb's going to need to be taken off and cleaned, and I have to drain the gas tank anyways. There's no way it's going to be clean gas, and there's a tiny hole in the top of the gas cap here, so any water's just been getting down in there for however long it's been sitting. I'd guess a year or more. Okay, so this has the witness marks, which is that clean spot behind all the rust, so I don't need to gap this. It is gappable though, like there's different set heights. Take that off. Take this guy off. And you know, I'd much rather, I don't know if I'm going to get so extensive into this, but I'd much rather have a switch than switch the, whatever you call it, the throttle all the way to the left to shut it off and have it ground out. I'd rather just have a switch on top, or like how they have the metal that has the rubber and you bend it over and it grounds itself out. I don't know. We'll have to see how I feel. Alright, so I just kind of cleaned the bottom of this just a little bit and the magnet area just with some steel wool. Probably not the best material because of course it's a magnet, so I'm getting all these little hairs everywhere. I'm going to reconnect the coil here with the kill switch completely disconnected, because there's some pretty janky shit going on down where you can't see back here, and see if it is a grounding issue or if it is something. The magnet's obviously working, so if this is disconnected and it still doesn't have spark, then more than likely it's an issue with the coil, whether it's a junk coil or whatever. I might have one of these sitting in back, but that's another thing. I'm not like Musty where I have every part in existence known to man sitting in the back shed. I'm kind of one of those guys where if I don't use it for a year or two, I kind of get tired of looking at it and I throw it away. I know it's a terrible thing to do, but that's just kind of how I am. All right, I'm gonna try to spin it over here now and see if I have any spark at all. Nada. So, might have a junk coil. If it does, it's not a huge problem. It's probably a $15 part. Like I said, I don't really have a lot of small engines kicking around. I'm going to take a quick peek and see if I've got a different coil that I can throw in here. That John Deere might have one that's the same. I mean, they're not really universal, but they are very similar. There's kind of minute differences here and there. Alright, so I know for sure this coil is junk. I looked up a YouTube video on how to check the resistance on stuff. Basically going from the coil to the base, it was something like 2,000 to 18,000 ohms. I had 2,500, which was okay. And then from the spark plug lead to the kill switch was supposed to be 10 to 30,000. I only had 2,000. I don't necessarily know what that means. I just know this coil is no good. So we're either going to have to buy a different one, which I'm probably just going to go that route because I have two small engines in back, but one of them is on a tiller I need to fix up and the other is on a generator. And of course I'm not going to rob it from that in case I ever need emergency power. So I'm going to do some research and see if I can't find this coil here. In the meantime, I'm going to mess with taking the gas tank off and cleaning the carburetor on that and getting it good fuel. Just that way, when we do get spark, it'll all be ready to go. Alright, I wasn't going to bother with recording this, but I figured it'd be good to have it for my personal record anyways, just because there's so many linkages and bolts and whatever. In order to take this gas tank off, I had to take one bolt out of the very bottom bracket. This here is the governor linkage, and then this is your actual throttle assembly. I took out two Torx bolts here, and that just twists and pops off, and this lever, which is the choke, connects to this top piece here. Set that aside. Let's see. And I believe that's, yeah, this piece here is for the throttle, and that goes into this little opening right here and moves back and forth. So how can I get that off? By just clipping that out. And it's like a truck door or whatever, lock, latch. Okay. Took another Torx out of here, and that just held with this little clamp. Held this breather tube on. Pull the breather tube off. In order to get access to that, I need to take this choke assembly out. It went with the hook into the hole here and twists in. Get that out of the way. Okay. What is this still attached to? That there, so I have to take this bolt off. Not sure. I disconnected it from the bottom governor linkage there. So now that's off. I'll just thread that back in. Okay, and now we're just caught on the actual bottom of the carburetor here. And I don't know, these bolts are so awkward. I think I'm gonna have to grab a 10 wrench, which I should have in my pocket. And yeah, of course they're not 10, they're 3/8, so I gotta go grab a 3/8. Alright, let's see if 3/8 fits. And it does, and thankfully they're not super tight. So basically when I put this back on, I'm gonna have to put the gas tank basically into position first, and then put the carburetor assembly on, and then start hooking up linkages and end with the actual throttle plate linkage assembly, I believe. Yeah, I don't know what the hell they were smoking when they made these engines back in the day. I like I said, I don't even want to take a guess of what year this is. I'll look it up and I'll post it just right here so you can see what year it is. I don't even want to guess because I know I'm just going to be made a damn fool of. Thinking it was like a 1980 something when it turned out to be a 2001 or something like 20 years off, you know. I don't know. Normally I can do that with car engines, just look at it and say, oh yeah, it's definitely from this time period, but with small engines, it's always a damn crapshoot. Also, this, since the gas tank's on the bottom, I'm guessing it has some kind of, with that vacuum hose I disconnected right here, it's probably some kind of almost, not an updraft, but a vacuum sort of powered carburetor, where it gets vacuum from the crankcase and then it pulls fuel through. Okay. And that gasket came off in one piece, thankfully. Alright, and then on the bottom, the only thing we're hooked onto is the spring. And I'm just going to pull that right off, and that just went straight over that little ear there. And there, that fell off, of course. Okay. So, let's see here. We have ourselves a gas tank. Oh, there goes the breather tube, too. This will be fun to put back together. I'm guessing this torque screw is the only thing holding me up here. It's the same size as the other ones. And that definitely was. That's the long one. Of course, that gasket just disintegrated because it's cork. So, probably going to have to get a new gasket for this. Otherwise, water's going to leak down in the tank. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to empty this gas out and clean the carburetor now. One other thing I wanted to show here on the back of this. I think the way this is set up, the reason it has kind of a funky kill switch setup is because this here is connected to the kill switch. So if the engine revs up too high, it'll make contact right there and it'll kill spark. So that's, I guess, what the governor actually does. I knew it limited RPMs, but I didn't know that it would rev up to a point that it kills spark. I thought it killed fuel or killed compression or something. On some engines it does, but this one it actually kills spark on. So, yeah, and there's no way to actually disconnect this bracket from the tank. They kind of plug welded it on from the factory. Well, Cooper and I woke up to a bit of a surprise this morning. He's not a fan of it. Neither am I. I have got quite a few tools sitting out and about. because the weather did not show snow for like another 4 days. So thankfully most of the tools, I kind of kept them in piles, like that little pile there. I got some wood there with nails sticking out of it. Yeah, he just he is not a fan of it. He went out this morning and the hair on the back of his neck was just sticking up and he was just growling at it. He'll get warmed up to it though. But regardless, I gotta spend frickin' a good probably hour out here picking up tools and kind of kicking around the snow like this, seeing if anything flicks around, you know. And actually yesterday when I was kind of doing a walk around the yard, kind of getting some stuff moved to the back for winter, I was kind of thinking, you know, hey, I should probably get the family together and figure out a day to kind of have a winter pickup to get the whole yard picked up, so that way nothing gets left in the snow piles and whatever. And I had to wake up like an hour earlier than usual today, because I mean, if I'd let it sit another hour, things like this hose would have been completely gone. So I'm gonna have to stop talking here and just get to it, I guess. I don't think I'm gonna be selling this mower here yet this year. I already hit the driveway with the snowblower, obviously, but what's here is gonna stay. There's just no other way of looking at it. Not supposed to have another warm day. Well, at least warm enough to melt all this until probably May. So the John Deere here, I ended up getting tubes for it, as well as the drag link to connect from the actual, I guess, spindle to the steering linkage. It starts just fine. I mean, it starts incredibly easy. I don't know if this battery in here is any good that I got. For some reason, that, I don't know, I've been having issues with it. It's like there's some safety switch somewhere that's not wanting it to start. Yeah, it must be something related with this, because it seems like if I flip that on and off enough times, it will eventually go. But you can see it starts really easy. Doesn't seem to have any problems with turning over or anything. I just picked up a, I think it was 235 cranking amp battery for it. And the battery charger wasn't connected there. I just didn't disconnect it since the snow. But yeah, it looks like it's 235. I was debating on going with something bigger, but I don't know. I think 235 is going to be plenty good, especially in the fall when it's warmer. So I'm going to have to take this off and clean the contacts on that, just in case that is what's preventing it from cranking over. Otherwise, I'm trying to think. The other thing, I dug the camera out here because I did get the parts washer all fixed up and filled up, and it took about, let's see, that was 5, that was 5, that was 5, about, yeah, 14, 15 gallons of fluid. I did 1 gallon of this part solvent that I had, which is just mineral spirits part solvent, as you can see right there. And then I went to Fleet, and then they had that exact same stuff, but it was almost $70 a barrel. And the cheapest I could find was like 50, and I still said, well, that's way too much. So then I grabbed 2 of these paint thinner things, which are 2.5 gallons. I think those were a little less than 20. And then 5 gallons of diesel. So it's a little bit of a concoction in here, but it cleans everything up really nicely. Got the carburetor all cleaned up, reassembled here, all the linkages on and everything, as well as cleaned the gas tank out, washed most of the crud off with the parts washer. There's still some stuff on the outside here, but that's more so etched into the paint than anything. You can kind of scrape it off with your fingernail, but it doesn't really transfer to your finger too much, you know? So, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're not going to see that side anyways. And I did just get the coil in the mail here. This was the old one, and then this is the new one. So, a little bit of a different design. Same thing with the kill switch being on the back, same mounting style, and it says it'll fit, and the spark plug lead is actually the same length. I think the new one is actually an inch longer or so. So I'm going to get this stuff started to get thrown back on here and see if we can get that started and running here so I can actually see if the hydraulics work, because that's why I've been a cheap ass with this whole carburetor rebuild. Otherwise I would have bought a name brand coil, but I don't know. I can't guarantee that hydraulic ram is any good or the pump is any good or so on. And if I come to find out, if I get it running today and find out the motor's good, but the hydraulic ram takes like a minute to retract forwards and backwards, then I'm going to have to buy a different pump or put a different motor on or so on. But like I said, I paid $150 for this. The ram itself and the controls are worth that, the two of them together, regardless of whether this ram, I guess, really has the splitting power. I'm confident it does, but this little pump here, someone had pointed out it's not a huge pump, so it might be a pretty slow-moving ram. And they've also, the way they've got this plumbed up is stupid as hell. People seem to think if you have a big hose, that's all that matters. So they have this nice thick hose here, you know, probably an inch, inch and a quarter. And they have this tiny little fitting down here. So it's only going to flow, you know, as if the whole hose was that thick. And then the same thing going up to the ram here. They have it scaled down, which it isn't a huge decrease in size, but it's only going to flow that fast. And yeah, I think they had a small fitting somewhere on the other side over there too. So, I mean, the hoses, you know, might be overkill. I mean, definitely I think here it is, because you compare the difference between this hose and that hose. Maybe it's just what the guy had laying around when he made it. More than likely that's what it is. But getting back to what I was saying, if I need to buy a motor and a different pump for this, you know, Harbor Freight has their 12-horse motors, or maybe it's not 12-horse I'm thinking of, but I know you can get a motor through them for $120, and it's got electric and pull start, and it's new. The only issue you'd run into there would be the height difference of where the crankshaft comes out of the engine, and then obviously the adapter for the pump here. You'd want to get the same size shaft, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. So regardless, say I have $150 into that after tax and everything. And then if it needs a pump, I can't imagine, you know, I wouldn't be buying a brand new pump. I'd just go on eBay or get one off a skid steer or something. And that'd probably run me another 100, 150 or something. So then I'd have 450 into it, and I'd still have a, well, then I'd essentially have a brand new log splitting machine minus the ram for 450. So regardless, you know, however much work it needs, I'll end up putting the work into it. And this is still something I could sell this year or rent out, even though it's a winter wonderland out here and it's kind of a shithole. There are still guys splitting wood. Because, I don't know, it's only, I'm trying to think, it's like October 21st today. And really winter isn't like supposed to start in Minnesota, I think, until mid-November, just kind of before Thanksgiving. So maybe the snow will disappear, but I'm pretty confident it won't. I might try selling that lawnmower, but I think that's just going to sit in the shed till next year. So I'm going to get this filled up with gas, get it all put on and everything, and go from there. Alright, I got it to where it runs good enough here. The reason I say good enough and not perfect is because I think there was a little bit of diesel or mineral spirits left in the gas tank when I used a parts washer on it. And I say that because it would kind of act like it was dying out for fuel, and it wouldn't do it like every 30 seconds or, you know, at regular intervals. It would run for 8 minutes and then it would kind of sputter down, and you'd have to really put it on full choke, and then sometimes it would run for 5 seconds and stall out. It was just all over the place. I'll go ahead and start up here just so you can hear it run and see everything working on it. Shouldn't have to put it on full choke too much. I took the pull start off because the thing spins over so ungodly slow with the pull start, since it's attached direct to the pump and it's got resistance on it. So it just starts really easy with the drill. I say that, except I didn't turn the frickin' throttle on. That might help. Oh, these fucking Milwaukee chucks. And so my worst fear was realized the controls are backwards. I was hoping you would pull the lever and it would send it that way. No, when you push the lever in, it sends it that way. So, I don't know. It doesn't mean anything. It still works the same. It just kind of messes with your head a little bit if you're expecting it to work the other way. And you know, it runs fine when it's running out, but when you retract it, the motor kind of likes to bog down and miss a little bit. But I know it's not much of a test, but I took a couple 2x4s and was testing that, and I'll do one sideways just because it's going against the grain. And it went sideways just fine too, crushing it. So I say that. It did on the other ones anyways, and like I said, I don't know, it might need a little bit more carb work. I say it might need a little bit more carb work because when I had this diaphragm out, everything looked perfectly fine. I cleaned it anyways, put it back together. The carb kit that I got from Ace was not correct at all. So I just took some RTV and just with my finger put a little thin layer in between the gas tank and the carburetor in the hopes that that'll prevent water from getting down in there. I don't know about this puncture hole in the gas cap. I don't know if that's gonna allow water to leak down inside there. But I did put some brand new fresh 91 in there. I mean, it's not even a week old. Screw mixtures, you know, on here. It's pretty much set the way it is. And you know, it's funny because I didn't used to know how to adjust the air fuel mixture on these small engines at all. And every time I had something where it had those screws, I just, you know, basically gave it away for free because I couldn't get it to run right, you know. And now with knowing how to adjust them, every small engine I get doesn't seem to be adjustable now. For example, the lawnmower, I think that's adjustable, but it's kind of the same thing like with the splitter over there where you're going to be running full throttle all the time. So it doesn't really matter just as long as it's right at full throttle. If you're revving up and down a lot, then you need it to be almost perfect. Otherwise, it's going to bog down, or you're going to have to really ease into the throttle to get it to get up and go. But yeah, I'm going to pretty much call this log splitter here done. I don't have a wood stove. I don't plan on splitting wood for people and dropping them off cords of wood or whatever for sale, you know. I would change these tires, but my tire machine, like I said, the switch is bad. I ordered that new $150 switch, and it just popped the breaker immediately as well. So I'm just going to have an electrician rewire that thing, because there's like 12 different wires that go into a switch, and you'd think it'd just be 2 wires because it's forwards or backwards, but no, they overcomplicated the shit out of it. So, and it's an Italian machine. It's not like I can easily get the owner's manual, and even then I don't understand wiring diagrams, so this is pretty much just going to be how it is. This might be another thing I sit on till next spring to end up getting rid of. Like I said, I don't know. I'm going to post it on Facebook for probably 500, and if someone came along with 350, I'd probably take that because I bought it for 150. Maybe have, let me think, 12 into the coil, and then gas and everything. I don't know. I have less than 200 though into it, so if I make 150 for my labor, that's not bad at all. Oh, you'll notice the log machine is gone, and some tire tracks which take it out towards the road. I know it was not stolen. I sold it. I posted it on Facebook, and within, I believe it was 18 hours, had it sold. I just posted it for $500, you know, given the gist of it, of it's a little bit cold-blooded. In fact, you know what? I don't even think I got any video of it running or splitting. It just kind of happened so quickly. Shit. God, I hope I have something saved somewhere, because I can't stand watching YouTube videos where guys end up doing that. They repair something and don't get it, actual footage of it working. I feel like I did, though, but I can't guarantee that. Regardless, it did run. It was quite cold-blooded. You had to run it about half choke. I think a big part of that was just because I didn't replace the diaphragm or anything like that. And maybe it wasn't getting enough fuel. And, of course, I kind of did a temporary RTV just to seal the carburetor and the gas tank so no water leaked down in there. I know Tecumseh is really known for that. They're very cold-blooded engines. It seems like this Predator Harbor Freight engine I got, I put that on here last year, about a year ago exactly. And it's getting a little bit cold-blooded now. It's starting pretty hard. And it's not so much that it's cold-blooded. It's more so just takes a long time to start. Before, it was turn the key within 3 cranks, it would fire, you know, just ice cold. And now it's, you know, 15, 20. I didn't put any sort of fuel stabilizer in it when I stored it, and I didn't run it all last summer, so that very well could be it. I put some new 91 octane in there and, you know, again, topped it off with seafoam, hoping that kind of solves the problem. But, yeah, regardless, that log splitter, like I said, I ended up buying it for $150 and had less than $50 into parts and everything for it, and sold it for $500, no questions asked. And it wasn't me conning some guy either. I had about 30, 40 people message me about that thing, and he was the first one to show up. So, you know, that paid for the John Deere, plus the tubes, plus the drag link, plus that guy, plus all that iron I got. Oh, what else did I get at that? I got that heater too. But basically, I think, like I said, I paid $650. On the safe side, we'll say $700 for all that stuff at the auction, and already made, you know, 75-80% of that back. And once spring hits here, this John Deere, you know, I'll have it fully serviced, cut and ready to go. So as soon as all the snow melts, everyone can get the leaves all picked up in the bagger, or just have a grass cutting machine here. This snow literally just came out of nowhere. I mean, it was, leaves were still falling, and suddenly we had 4 or 5 inches. Most of it melted off. We're supposed to get another 3-4 inches here tonight, but main point being, there wasn't really a time to sell this thing this year. Even if I had it ready the same day, it snowed like the very next day or the day after that. So when this thing inevitably sells in spring for $500 or more, then, you know, I will have made a profit, and I'll still have my little ready heater keeping me warm. So, oh, I got the parts washer too. That was the other big thing. I couldn't remember what the hell the other big item I got was. And yeah, that parts washer is just the tits. Like I said, it has been doing a phenomenal job. The only thing I would modify about it is just change the fluid in there, since, like I said, I got that weird cocktail concoction of stuff in here. But I don't know. we'll see. Next thing to end up working on is going to be hopefully getting this tire machine fixed up and working. Like I said, I've ordered 3 different switches for it, and I just have to leave it up to an electrician at this point so I can actually change tires on shit. And after that, I got this Subaru I'm doing head gaskets on, and then another Subaru I gotta replace the entire rear subframe and all the suspension components on, and then got another Subaru I have to replace another engine on, and then another Subaru head gasket job, and then just gonna be busy, busy, busy.